And Julie, excited and ready to go with yoga? Just give me a thumbs up that you can hear me okay. Great. We're starting in Tadasana with your hands together at the heart and feet close or together. If the feet are apart, of course, they should be level. So that's something to check. And they should be apart if you're pregnant. They should also be apart if your thighs meet before your feet, or if there's some other reason why it's uncomfortable to bring your feet together, then apart, but level. Not one forwards, not one back, not one foot turned out and the other turned in, but level. Otherwise, together works very well as well. Spreading the toes, Tadasana Namaskara is what we're in. And it's not inherently a yoga pose. You have to use it, don't you? So we use it to evoke a feeling of, guess what? Yoga. And guess what? We know yoga means union or coming together. So that's what we do. So movement that helps us settle our citta vikshepas, our scattered minds. And center ourselves viscerally in the central channel that we are visualizing anterior to the spine. To center ourselves viscerally and at the same time mentally, right in the middle. Broaden your collarbone softly with that, all that I just said in mind, that this practice is a practice of integration. So broaden your collarbones by gently pressing your hands together, gently visualizing tensions to do with uncertainty, doubt, and fear, and so on, those tensions to release, so that you can feel across your collarbone areas, lateral to the breastbone. This broadening happens. Of course, the collarbones attached to the top of the breastbone, the manubrium. And we can feel all the way around to the shoulder blades. So there's loads to adjust just on the level of the shoulders, isn't there? If we're honest. Just on the level of the shoulders, there's lots of tensions to release. Many people work on computers. There's a lot of tightness. A massive part of yoga is finding what we're holding and letting that go. Raise your arms out to Tarasana and give your fingers a wiggle. Make sure your elbows are a little higher than your shoulders. Tara, we know, means star. So we're wiggling the fingers. The tummy's lightly toned because we're still practicing yoga. So the project is still yoga, which is integration, bringing together that which is scattered. Stretch your legs out or step your legs out. So you've got this full Tarasana. It's useful to tune in on the pelvic floor. It's useful to listen and respond, and it's infinite. And that's how it should be. You know, even if you just focused on your shoulders, honestly, there'd be an infinite amount of adjustments to do to make sure the neck, as it comes into the upper back, isn't tight, to make sure that we're not holding tensions that are going against the pose, tensions that are connected with associations. Let's turn the back toes, let's say left toes, in right, left foot, right foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel. Stretch into the back leg, but bend the front and play with the movements backwards and forwards until it feels more and more integrative. We're keeping the palms up and turning the head, breathing through the nose. It's not a pose, it's a yoga practice. That is to say, it's a practice of bringing together disparate parts of our experience, including muscles that are doing something other than now. Perhaps they're anticipating the future or remembering the past. So that has to be released. Now, elbow down, palm up and over. Now, it doesn't have to come up and over, and there are instances in a person's life where that might not be possible for one reason or another. So it's fine as well, or instead of, to have the arm up and over. You can also have it on your hip or reaching round to your thigh or whatever you like, as long as it's yoga. Union. Look up under the armpit, keep your eyes soft. Play to live. It's the title of a book by Alan Watts. Marvelous Alan Watts. Arm down, palm down. Inhale as you push, come up. Hands on the hips for a restful, study-based breath or two. So it's restful and it's study-based because you're studying tensions and their releases. Where is holding around the collarbones? Is there more on the left or the right? Is it connected with the breath and the mind? What is it that you're holding on to? And can it be released here and now? So, of course, release has to be at our own pace. It shouldn't be forced. But there's often a lot that can be released simply through awareness. Let's stretch those arms out again, back to our Tarasana. Maybe a little wiggle of the fingers. Make the pose really quite sort of Leonardo da Vinci sort of drama to it. Back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel, as you know, I think, for these kind of poses. And then bending and extending and playing between the legs. As a meditator, I used to say yoga practitioner is a meditator, breathing into it. So you can't see, but ahead of me in this room, there's a picture of Kali standing as she does on Shiva. It's a very beautiful picture, actually, hand painted in South Asia. And Shiva represents consciousness and Kali represents expression in many ways. So consciousness or pure consciousness expresses. Sort of to feel into the body is to play with it, to move it, to experiment with it. That's consciousness exploring. Elbow down, palm up of the top arm, and up and over is an option. Breathing through the nose, hopefully, isn't an option. You can't, you breathe. It's not an option to breathe or not breathe. Is it? You just breathe. Through the nose is good because it warms, filters, hydrates, and slows the breath. Warms, filters, hydrates, and slows the breath. Keep breathing deep, eyes soft. Good job. Arm down, palm down, push into the leg, come up on the inhalation. Hands onto the hips. Let's hear some deep breaths from you and from me, from us. Really letting the breath come, and it starts to move. It starts to stir in areas where we are caught on these granthis or knots or areas of tension, which is like a sort of flame that we orbit around like a moth. Those areas of tension begin to release like lumps in porridge being stirred out. Stretch your arms again, turn your palms, raise your arms without impinging on the roots of the neck. Keep breathing through the nose without impinging on the roots of the neck. Means that there's a sense of flow that you feel everywhere. Turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body turns, and then you walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. You lift your back heel, turn it out before bringing it back down again, lightly toning and reiteratively doing so the tummy, lightly toning, so in and up and in and up, like you're combing your hair. So sort of reiterative. You don't expect the first comb through of your hair to get it all sorted. And obviously not all hair types will ever get sorted through a comb, but you know what I mean. Inhale, raise up from the inner groin. Exhale, bend your knee, the front knee. Stretch through the pose, inner groin up, playing, meditating, playing and meditating. That's the same thing because play leads to absorption, doesn't it? So play is looking for absorption. It's looking for union. It's looking for surrender. So keep breathing. I quite like to do things like lift my heels to help me incorporate more muscle fibers and to help me play and feel that I can give the space to find stray muscle fibers. Inhale, come on up. Back to center. Big circle where rest our arms as we level our feet up and take deep breaths, plural. Hopefully a few of these deep breaths will come and go. And that's the beginning of the stirring of the pot where we're neurotically attached or fixated to whatever we're neurotically attached to, the past, the future, ideas, hang-ups about other people, hang-ups about ourselves, gripes and groans. Quite good at those, aren't we, some of us? I am anyway. Stretch and turn. Lift up when you're ready. Keep that tummy lightly toned. And perhaps you can feel a subtle reiterative buoyancy to the pelvic floor. A subtle reiterative buoyancy to the pelvic floor. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning. Walk the front foot further across the width of the mat and still breathing through your nose. Light tone in the tummy, jaw soft. Good job. Bend your front knee. Keep the jaw passive and the neck passive. play and replay for the purpose of absorption. So lifting the heels, lifting the toes, these are all things you could find useful. It ain't what you do, but the way that you do it. And it's not just the way that you do it, but the reason you do it dictates the way that you do it. If you're doing it for a sense of coming together and releasing that which is outmoded, that which is about the past, which is gone. If you're fixated on the past, a big chunk of your awareness is not in the present. And the only thing that there ever is or ever will be is the present. So keep breathing into it. Inhale. Come on up. Well done. Big circle. Hands to the hips. Walk your feet towards each other. Have a little kick out. Have a few deep breaths. If you've got a wall nearby, or if not, a chair, we're going to place our foot up against a wall, a door, or a chair, or a window ledge. So facing the door, window ledge, or chair, but let's have a belt as well. I'll just get one from over in the corner of the room. Once you've got your belt, face the wall straight on, squared up to the wall, and take a few breaths like that. You are leg length away. Now that depends how high your foot's going to go. If it's going to go hip height, leg length. If it's going to go higher, you might be a little closer than leg length. Start in Tadasana with your belt nearby. You can always drape it around you like a tailor. Breathe through your nose if you can. Drop the shoulders. Relax your toes. Find the beauty of dancing with the goddess. In other words, opening up, listening, responding to the present. Lift up, doesn't matter which foot, and place your foot up on the door or the wall or wherever you're placing it, or the chair or window ledge, and bring the belt around the front of the heel. So I'm pretty sure you've got a chair, a shelf, a door, something you can put your foot up onto. Try not to turn the foot that's on the floor out at all. This pose is called Utthita Pardangusthasana. Breathe through your nose. Pull on the belt, pull on the belt, pull on the belt, and drive the back of the body in towards the front of the body. You got it. Keep breathing free. Now hold the belt with one hand only, the opposite hand to the leg that's up on the wall, and turn. Breathe through your nose. Turn from the deep belly. Feel free to have your hand of the back arm extended down or up, or both, so that you're looking for flow. As always, flow. Release, return. Gracefully place your foot. That'll do. That was graceful enough. Take a deep breath. I need one, so I think you might too. Take a few. Treat yourself. Yeah. Take a few deep breaths. I know it's Lent now, but it doesn't mean you can't have deep breaths. When you're ready, same thing on the other side. Bend the leg, lift the foot, place the foot up on the door, bring the belt to the front of the heel, and pull. When you're ready, pull on the belt, drive the back of the body in towards the front of the body, and breathe through your nose if you can. Neck soft, eyes soft. After this pose, I will come up to the screen, just check that you're all okay. But it looks like you are, but when I come up, if there's any problem with the sound or whatever, let me know. Neck in line with the spine. Again, hold with the opposite hand to the leg that's extended, and then extend the opposite arm, either palm up or palm down, or between the two. Or if it's difficult to raise the arm, of course, you can keep it on the hip, and that's fine as well. It's all about the breath. So breathe easy, breathe natural. Eyes soft, brain soft. Standing leg intelligent. You can say intelligent. Great. Release, return, and gracefully bring your foot down and getting ready for Ardha Chandrasana while I come up. Just check on the screen that everything's okay. Everything's okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Yeah, all okay. Great. Great. So Ardha Chandrasana is the half moon. You might well want a block or blocks. I've got a brick block here. This is quite an old one of mine, rather nice, actually. But if you haven't got brick block, you can use foam blocks, plural. Step over to one side of your mat and put the block on the other side, at least the length of the block ahead of your foot. Turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel. Obviously, you can improvise at home if you don't have all the stuff, blocks and so on. Years ago, my first set of blocks was just offcuts from somebody's house that they built up at Hog's Edge, which is a self-build in Pevendine. Anyway, that's another story. Stretch your arms, inhale, exhale, Trikonasana. Personally, I don't know how you feel about this, I'm quite into pressing my arm against my leg because otherwise my leg's a bit lazy. When I press into it, it stimulates a sort of energy going the other way and encourages the leg to turn on, the quadriceps in particular. So the quadriceps are the four muscles on the front of the thigh. 3 that start with the word vastus, medialis, intermedialis, and lateralis. And then over the top of those, the rectus femoris. Easy to remember because of femur, femoris, and rectus because it makes your legs straight. Arm down, bend your knee, walk your back foot towards your front foot. There's the block. You've got you've got 3 high options, 1 directional option, plus the option not to have a block at all. So I'm going for turning the block lower and turning it round. Up to you, what works best for you. And then raise your top leg up. Breathe through your nose if you can. Don't hold it back. Walk your top fingers along your top leg. Look for strength. The arising of strength is the arising of union in the body. Recruiting muscles together means that they have to stop doing what they were doing, which is usually anticipating a future that will be different to what we anticipate, or remembering a past incorrectly to how it really was. So breathing, really getting those tissues online. Bending the knee, moving back through to your Trikonasana. Trikona, of course, means 3 angles. Trikona. Just think of the word kona in the same way as the word corner, and you'll be home and dry. Let's cognate with it. Inhaling to come up. Well done. Good job. Walk your feet towards each other. Move your block from one side to the other. I always recommend, especially if you're a yoga teacher, this is a good practice to get into, to get all your students to start right over on one side of the mat, because that way there's clearance on the other. And then to do the same on the other. Plus, the other advantage of being over on one side of the mat is you know where you came from, you know where you're going back to. Turn your back toes in, stretch your arms, turn your front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. Inhale if you're ready. Exhale, Trikonasana. Either the hand on the shin, or as I mentioned already, I quite like to press in because there's a sort of inherent laziness in the body-mind. So that helps me to wake up from this root bud, which means to wake up. So waking up, breathing through the nose, waking up the quadriceps. So when I press into the quadriceps with my ulna, which is the bone on the little finger side, when I press, then the leg responds by pressing back and strengthening up. It gets it out of its laziness and its dullness. But that's an option. You might not find that works. I'm also moving my foot positions so that they align well. Arm down, bend your front knee. This is where your block is going to be one of its 1, 2, 3 heights plus perhaps a directional shift. This is where I also crash into this rather marvelous plant. Sorry, plant. It's just you and me now. And breathing easy. Jaw soft, eyes soft. This plant, actually, I got this plant as a tiny, tiny little seedling. We got this plant as a tiny seedling from a place in Wales called Newtown, which I actually didn't love, but I'm very pleased with this plant. It's lovely. Breathe through your nose, bringing the standing leg online. Remember to walk your top arm along your top leg. That helps you to lengthen your bottom ribs. That stops you from side flexing your trunk and allows it to turn. Don't hold your breath. I know you're enjoying yourself. Okay, well done. Back you come through your Trikonasana, going back to where you started on the mat. Breathing without holding the breath. Inhaling, coming up. What a lovely pose. Walk your feet towards each other and have a little shake out. Have a little shake out. Stretch your arms out. And, have a moment to loosen up any way that works for you. Could be you lift the arms up, could be you bend them, could be you stretch them. We're going to bring one arm over the top of the other, and maybe more than once, maybe twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, as many times as you need. The more you wrap them over, the more chance there is of getting them further round and perhaps bringing the hands together. Yeah, the back of the hands is fine. Or if you work in lots and lots of very small movements, you could be very surprised how far you can get like that. Lots and lots of very small movements. Breathing through your nose. Either keep both feet on the floor and then bend your knees, or bend your knees first, lift the opposite leg to the top arm, wrap around without force or rush, and then bend the knees. Either way, we're bending forward from the hip joint area. Very, very good pose. Either with both feet on the floor or just one. Coming back up without haste. Releasing calmly. Release the arms. Probably sounds louder now because I'm probably muffling the microphone. Take a breath or two. Shake, 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 shake. Shake, 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 shake. Second side, when you're ready. So stretch out those arms enthusiastically. And then when ready, the opposite arm to the one you just did. A few times usually is helpful. 2, 3, 4 or more. And then I find it so helpful to move in increments. Lots and lots and lots of little increments. I've described this in many ways over the years. And I feel like there's quite a few of them now. Years, that is to say. Breathe through your nose. Eyes soft. Again, bend ankles, knees, and hips. And you can either come forward like that with both feet on the floor, or you can try wrapping the opposite leg to the top arm around, taking your time, not rushing or forcing. Either way, fold forwards. And breathe through the nose. This, of course, is Garudasana. The D is retroflexed. Your tongue is curled back as it hits the top of the palate to make that da sound. So it's a retroflex da rather than the dental da. Coming up calmly, slowly. Nice and easy. Bring yourself down to the floor. Take 2 blocks and a blanket. And again, there's ways you can improvise, of course. But yoga blocks are pretty easy to come by now. And because not all people are as consistent as you, you can probably buy secondhand stuff quite cheap. This is a cross-leg position, Sukhasana, with the blanket going under the legs, as it must do if students sit on 2 blocks, if we sit on 2 blocks. Under the shins, down we come. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. Palms up. Breathing through your nose. Shoulders down. Eyes soft. Brain soft. Tongue soft. And while you're softening, I'm just going to come up to the screen. I think one person might not be muted, so I'll just mute. I think I can mute you, which is beneficial. Maybe I can't. It might be you, Runa. So you might want to mute yourself in case you swear during your yoga practice. I think you might not want the world to hear that. And then palms up. Breathe through your nose. Sure, so relax the buttocks. Relax the thighs. There's a bit of study goes on, isn't there? I think relaxing the thighs is a sort of a study in release. Where are we holding? Where are we releasing? It's a study in release. And I think this pose shouldn't be underestimated. Great. Just wiggle your fingers and we'll change across to the legs. So the other leg will go in front. It's pretty simple. And the blanket will go underneath the shins. And there's always a gap, isn't there, in Sukhasana. It's one of the ways we can define it and make clear the difference between Sukhasana and Siddhasana. Siddhasana, the heels are lined up with each other in the midline. Sukhasana, there's a gap. Right. Palms face up. We're on 2 blocks, or the equivalent of. The mudra is called Jnana Mudra or Jnana Mudra. It's the same, just different pronunciations of the same. I suppose technically, Jnana is probably technically more correct, although Jnana is commonly used. Anyway, it means knowing. Jnana is the root, or Jna is the root to know. Relaxing the buttocks, relaxing the eyes. Breathing through the nose if you can. So a big part of yoga is not about doing, but undoing. Noticing where doing is already happening. Doing is, in anticipation of what we think is going to occur, we might be doing. Or in memory of what did occur, we might be doing. But to be able to respond to this moment, we need to be free of doing and undoing. We need to be light. Okay, wiggle the fingers. And coming out of the pose and into Upavishta Konasana, for which I think most of us will find sitting on a block very, very useful, but particularly if the corner of the block faces forwards. So we'll all try that. The only time it's not useful is if one tilts forwards beyond 30 degrees, but even then, it can be fine. I'm not actually having any kind of problem with that, depending on the type of block you use, I guess. Butterflies drawn out and back. Chest lifted, eyes soft. Toes facing straight up and equal distance between the legs, please. Good job. Good job. Upavishta means to sit. Kona means angle, to sit with the legs at an angle. Adjusting and readjusting is, again, letting go of what the body's doing already. Lift and turn towards your right foot without gripping, grasping, or grabbing, letting those modalities release. What I call the 3 grrs. Gripping, grasping, grabbing. Breathing, if you can, through your nose. Lifting and turning the other way. Again, without the three gurus. Deep breaths are useful. Letting the heaviness of the thigh bones, the femurs, release. Straightforward, isn't it? And that to me, yes, it's got a lot of complicated things, but you literally build on the basic bones. And a lot of the names of other things are in reference to the bones. Like the femoral condyles are part of the femurs. Okay, back to the center. Breathe through your nose. Come off your support and take 2 blocks. Long side to long side. Voila. There can be a little gap between them. And they're going to go about the length of the block away from one end of your yoga mat. So you can then fold your yoga mat over the top. You're going to cross your legs and lay down. If there's any difficulty, just as we did in Sukhasana before, one can place a blanket underneath the knees. That can be really nice. So it doesn't have to be difficulty. It just can be, you want something a little softer. Hands on the floor, tuck the buttocks under, elbows on the floor, and forearms tuck the buttocks under. And then taking the elbows out, laying yourself down. If your head tips back, by all means, take some head support. Take some deep breaths and soften your eyes. Relax your jaw, tongue, and throat. Relax your shoulders. Just a few breaths like that, expressive, natural, interested, easeful, curious, calm. Having the hands on the ribs as I've got them here is really nice. Stretching them over the head is also potentially nice. You might have to move your shoulder blades considerably to make it more comfortable, knowing that the shoulder joint is an articulation at 2 places. It's an articulation of the upper arm bones, the humerus bones, with the shoulder blades, with the little gap in the shoulder blade called the glenoid fossa. That's one movement, the arm and the shoulder blade, the arm in the little dish, the glenoid fossa that it sits in. And then the other articulation is the shoulder blade itself. That's why the arms have such a big range of motion potentially. So anyway, shorthand, move your shoulder blades if you want. Relax and enjoy. Breathe through your nose if you can. And then very, very simply change the cross of the legs. It's that simple, isn't it? Just change the cross of the legs. You might be like me and want to bring your arms forwards and scoot the buttocks under. That can work out very nicely. Again, ribs, upper chest, or over the head. In my case, under a cheese plant. A very nice cheese plant, to say. Thank you for being such a lovely plant. Breathing through your nose if you can. Just observing tensions release from the neck, from the breath, from the back, from the groins, from the face, from the eyes, from the temples. Good job. Well, it's a nice pose to spend time, isn't it? Let's bring the legs back together. This is a roll over to the side pose, unlike Supta Baddha Konasana, which will come straight up from the back. But this one, we come up from the side and we reopen our mat, back up again and take a few breaths. Now we're going to put a blanket down because I don't know about you, but I like a little bit of luxury. Yeah, I like a little bit of luxury. For example, imperial leather soap. Or another example is very fine cotton sheets, not nylon, cotton. That's kind of luxury I live in here. Once you've got your blanket down, it needs to accommodate your bum and your feet. And you're probably going to need a belt, which I had somewhere, but I lost track. Oh, over there, as well. It depends how long your legs are, how long your arms are, how long your hamstrings are. You've got very long hamstrings, maybe you can reach your foot easily without closing the chest. Fine, then you don't need a belt. Or if you've got very long legs and shorter arms, then you're definitely going to use a belt. It's going to help, isn't it? You can sit on a block, one of these kind of blocks like this, because we're going to take the one leg back first. That side, I'm going to take the leg that's closest to you back first. That side of the block should be pulled backwards to make room for the foot when it comes back, if you're sitting on a block. To decide whether to sit on a block or not, you can try without. See if you can feel any lightness in the lumbar after a few breaths. If you can't, or if you're not sure, then try the block. Let's let the leg fall out to the side. Let's take hold. Let's draw it back. And it's going to go wherever, in a knee, in a thigh of the opposite leg, or the very top of its own thigh, in some cases. Soften, breathe, relax. Fingers on the floor. Soften, breathe, relax. Relaxing your knee inside, relaxing your shoulders. And then this is where we take the belt or the strap, or in the cases I described before, short legs, long arms, for example, holding the foot, but we don't want to be collapsed. We don't want to close our beautiful goddess channel. We want to keep that open and spacious along the anterior spine, the front of the spine. And we really want to make sure our breath is expressive of release. So our breath should be expressive of release. So if you start closing your chest because you think getting your head closer to your leg is the game, that isn't the game. And when we find this pose, it's first mentioned as Mudra and Mahabandha. And that's all about the central channel, as so many of these tantric and hatha techniques are, because it's visceral, it's a physical. It's when we get hatha yoga, we get a physicalization of tantric techniques. So instead of just visualizing, and we're, in the central channel, we're really stretching it physically, So we visualize it and move it. And we use the breath, just as tantrikas did as well, to bring our attention into the central channel. Keep soft in the knees, soft in the eyes, soft in the jaw, soft in the brain. So it's all about letting go, releasing what's behind you rather than plowing forwards to what's ahead. If you untie a tied up boat, it will naturally release away into the lake or river. You don't have to do much. One stroke of your paddle and you'll be away. But if you don't untie it first, you don't prioritize that, then you put a lot of energy in and get very little results. So untying, undoing is, without a doubt, the most important part of your practice. Deep breaths. This isn't about getting your head closer to your leg. It's about your breath. It's all about the breath. Stop, everyone. Couple more breaths. Hopefully you're getting into the meditation of it. It's empty of grasping. If it's empty of grasping, it's full instead of knowing, of knowledge. Absolutely wonderful. Come up calmly. And stretch out your legs and maybe give yourself a little rub down. I'm going to turn around so you can still see the leg that I'm bending. And also because I'm right up against the wall, as you can probably tell. It's the only way I can get the distance for the iPad. Anyway, we're working on that. There's a plan B coming. Anyway, the other leg rolls out. And if you're on a block, don't forget to pull it back so there's room for the foot, and then the leg comes back, probably touches the inner thigh of the opposite leg, maybe the top of the inner thigh of its own leg, and then turning, again softening, again focus on the untying. Although this pose is nowadays called Janu Shirshasana, Janu meaning head and Janu meaning knee, Shirsha meaning head. The Iyengar school, rather nicely, used to say it's head from the knee, not head to the knee, but from the knee. Because in the name Janu Shirsha, there is no to or from. It's just Janu, knee, Shirsha, head. And actually the first of those two things is Janu, is knee. So releasing the back knee, like untying a boat, focusing on the release, and then the movement forwards happens by itself. Sometimes I say yoga is like a raft on a river that's already got a current flowing. Your job is to get on the raft. You don't need to paddle it. What is the raft? Openness to the present moment, or the raft is the present moment. What's getting on the raft is opening up to the present moment. Don't hold the breath, soften any tensions. Keep untying yourself, as it were, any knots and gripping and grasping and grabbing. Keep letting those release. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Just a beautiful pose, in my opinion. I think it's a beautiful pose. And you don't have to be, close to your leg. That beauty comes from the focus on the central channel and serving. Sanskrit seva, serving. Wonderful. Come on up when you're ready. Take a breath or two or three. We're simply going to roll our blanket up into a beautiful snail, which involves pleating it and then rolling it. So you can see I'm pleating it and then I'm rolling it. And once you've made it into this beautiful snail, which is the time of year in the garden, there are not too many of them at the moment. Sometimes I go out there and it's like a sort of, I just have to, like an assault course, I have to miss all the snails. Make a snail when you're ready. Now, when you've made it, some of you will want to put that snail on a plinth for more height and more stretch. And some of you might be much better off just keeping it straight on the floor, because obviously more height means more stretch. And you might not need more stretch. It depends how long your back is and how flexible. A short, very flexible back could have a plinth. A short, stiff back, no way. Right? So I've got one block over here, but you might want two or three. Your bum and your head must both remain, the bum must remain in contact with the ground, and your head must come in contact with something. You can't have your head floating, you can't have your bum up in the air. It's cross-legged, the buttocks tuck under, and the lift goes into your middle back. The middle back, so in other words, where your ribs are. Then you can support your head at this height, and even the arms as well at this height, with enough blocks or cushions, just as I'm sort of pretending here. That's a good stretch. The bum's on the floor, the head might be supported by quite a lot of blocks. That's lovely. Or it may be that you want to go lower. That's also fine and lovely. Bringing the crown of the head to something, not just floating in the air. The bum is also on something, not just floating in the air. The breath comes and goes. Obviously, if you've got a long back, there's more chance your bum and head will both land. So this is Matsyasana. Matsya means fish. We have another pose, which is a twist, Matsyendra. So Matsyendra, or Matsyendranartha, is the name of a sage. So Matsyendra. Indra is like Indra, which means the Lord. In this case, Matsyendra is the Lord of the fish. Anyway, not to get confused between those two. Matsya, that's this pose, just plain old fish. Matsyendra or Matsyendrasana, that's a twist. It's a different pose. Breathe through your nose, jaw soft. I think it's a super pose. I hope you've got that lift in your middle back and not in your lower back. It's absolutely the wrong place to put it, in your lower back, in the softer tissue underneath the ribs that shouldn't be there. Great. Now I quite like to come up and change the cross of my legs. You might prefer to change them just in situ. That's fine either way. Again, coming back down if you did come up, or just changing the cross of the legs, as I say, in situ. Breathe through your nose if you can. It's a beautiful meditation, absolutely beautiful. I hope you can get into it. And making sure you've got the right supports, that's going to help you get into it. Just like with all our Sukhasana-based poses tonight, one can also support the legs. I should have mentioned that before, but just for your reference, in the same way that we have in the others, with a blanket under the shins. Remember the one right at the beginning, sitting on 2 blocks with a blanket under the shins. Coming up calmly, if you can, pressing down and just sitting in Sukhasana. Palms up, breathing through the nose, just sitting in Sukhasana. I still have a very vivid memory of doing this pose here for the first time. Absolutely blissful, and then sitting in Sukhasana. What blissful days of discovering yoga they were. When I first did it, that was it's so clear I can remember it. It was at the Brighton Natural Health Centre with lovely Louise Beglin. Well, I'm not sure if she's still teaching. I hope so. And that was probably in something like 1992. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, turn. One hand on the floor behind you. The other hand crosses over both legs, but make sure you don't lift that leg. Make sure you don't pull it up, because that would indicate gripping, grasping, grabbing. Can you tune in on the central channel through movement and breath? And look for levelness and ease. Levelness and ease in the central channel. Inhale, lift and turn, going the other way. See you in a minute. Again, deep breaths. Natural, honest, hopefully expressive, meditative. Expressive and meditative. Release nice and calm. And come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. So that means clearing any stuff off your mat. And straight away, or when you're ready, coming to hands and knees and popping up into your pose into your Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog. I was going to say, if you've got a loose fitting t-shirt, tuck it in, but I guess it's less important when you're on Zoom. There at home, there's no one to see. Armpits stretched open. Stretch the inner armpit. That we used to call that the armpit chest, because it's the outer margin of the chest and the inner margin of the armpit. And then stretching that inner armpit and keeping that stretch going as you also stretch the outer. So they're kind of going at the same time. Breathing through your nose, keeping those armpits open, getting them open. Jaw soft, eyes soft. I love down face dog. I hope you do as well, because it's an open door. You can just keep on investigating, keep discovering fibers and tissues to incorporate. It's an open door. Coming down to regular kneeling, for which we might use a block between the heels and buttocks, Vajrasana. Breathing, if you can, through your nose, letting the buttocks really settle, letting the shoulders really settle, letting the eyes really settle, letting the jaw really settle, letting the temples really settle. Take the knees apart. Now, don't forget, if you've got a block between your heels and buttocks, then it's really advantageous to have stuff for your head as well. So if I had a block here, I definitely want something for my head, pretty high up actually, and maybe something for my arms as well. So I'd want to be like this minimally if I had a block under my bum, just to keep things from feeling like I'm just collapsing forwards, which we don't want. If you don't have a block under the bum, obviously, you don't need to do that. Although it's still nice sometimes to use a block. Take your time. Make sure you don't separate your bum from your block, or your bum from your heels or your block. Breathing easy. Thighs, quadriceps relaxing. And as you feel the thighs release, probably you can feel your mind release too. Coming up calmly, without any haste. Well done. We're going to come into our final pose, which is corpse pose. We're going to make sure that we're comfortable and well aligned. And we'll go through the pose as it's taught in the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra, with some additional references to Buddhist or Bauddha practice. So really do take time. Take time to get comfortable. The body should be symmetrical. Palms should face up. And as the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra tells us, We're going to lay on our backs as if we were dead. With the limbs loose. We're going to close our eyes. Close your eyes. That's it. Take a deep breath and relax on the out breath. Arms and legs and head all relaxed. Soles of the feet, palms of the hands, soft and relaxed. Something rather lovely, isn't there? There's a release of the body that goes along with an expansion of the mind. They go together. The more of one, the more of the other, the more release, the more expansion. More release, more expansion. The advantage, of course, of practicing at home is sometimes there's an opportunity to lay longer. If you can, then I recommend that you do. And there's a natural length of time to lay in corpse pose where it feels like the body soaks up the whole of the yoga practice. It's a bit like putting water in a saucer underneath a plant. And the plant, the watering is finished when the plant has absorbed all the water. In the same way, in corpse pose, we've absorbed the energetics of the pose completely into every cell. At that point, the pose is over. So if you've got longer, lay longer, but if you haven't, you just either now or then. If you've got longer, it will be then. If otherwise, it will be now. Wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers. Take some natural stretches, investigative stretches. And eventually bending the legs and placing the soles of the feet on the floor before rolling to the left. Some other teachers say roll to the right first. There's arguments for both. And then rolling to the other side. And this can be done in your own timing before coming up nice and easy from the side. Now, if you're laying longer, which I hope you can, but if you can't, that's fine. But if you can transfer the merit as this lovely Buddhist practice from where you are, or if you're up and about, you can do it with your hands together in prayer position. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thank you, gang. I hope you have a lovely rest of your evening. Well done. Well done. And you kids, there's some kids there at home. Hold on to the kids for being reasonably good. I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Teacher training or the All About the Breath workshop. There's another immersion on March the 17th, by the way, a yoga day. And just save the date for this winter solstice. I'm doing an immersion weekend at Florence House. So that's literally over the solstice, December this year. All the dates are on the Vajrasattva website as usual for all the things coming up. So do have a look and see if there's anything there you fancy. Gales in the summer, nice swimming pool, or Floho, Florence House. Anyway, I'm just advertising endlessly. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you soon. Well done, everyone. God bless.